We live in this microwave society where people want stuff done as fast as possible, and they don't want to have to jump through hoops to get it. You ask the majority of people, what is your preferred method of communication? The vast majority of people actually do prefer text message. You know, that's just kind of these newer generations. Like, they don't want to do phone calls.
All right, we are back. Welcome to the How to Sell Insurance Podcast. Wait, let's take that back. Welcome to the How to Sell Insurance Podcast, sponsored by NeuroGum. Just kidding. We're not sponsored by NeuroGum. I would love to be. NeuroGum's amazing. But we're here to talk to you about something serious today. Some of you are not texting your clients, and that is dumb. You need to be texting your clients, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you are not using some sort of an automation platform, some kind of SMS communication with your clients, you are swimming in a baby pool when 15 feet away from you is an ocean of money, and you're just over in this pee-pee water. So start using text, start automating, and start reaching out to your clients. But some of you are like, how do I do that? Every time I send them a 15-page text message, they tell me to stop. Yes, that's going to happen because you need to text like a human being, right? You text like a teenager. So what we're going to be running through here, we've got a couple people that you know and love, Ashton DelangoLunday and Grant Leber, who are probably two of the foremost experts that we can put on the scene right now in this podcast of teaching you how to contact clients via text message. You guys know Grant Leber. You see him all over the leaderboards. The guy's crushing it, writing a ton of premium. Grant, if you had to estimate, just for the people that are unfamiliar with your game, this year so far, 5 months in, not including splits, anything like that, just what's your total uncapped APV that you've submitted so far?
Well, I did 64,000 last month. I'm going to guess we're at probably 250 for the year, 250, 300 grand.
250, 300, somewhere in there. So we're talking about a process that's going to put you in the 600, 700 range, most likely before the end of the year, of submitted premium. Ashton DelangoLunday, many of you may know, some of you may not know, has been working with extremely old, dusty, crusty, musty, moldy leads, multiple years old. All the leads that you came in and you were just like, I can't close these leads, they're old. And just like a scene out of Glengarry Glen Ross, he was like, the leads are weak, you're weak. And then he just started closing the crap out of them. And the guy's written $80,000, $84,000. Don't want to shortchange you, Ashton. Might be more by now, but $84,000 in the last 3 months, just on bonus leads, just on the oldest, dustiest, mustiest, crustiest bonus leads that you couldn't close because they were too old. He's written over $80,000 on those leads using only text, not
92,000.
92,000 now. So yeah, I told you I was shortchanging you. So if you want to know how to do any of this, you want to know how to communicate with clients, I couldn't think of two better people to talk to you about how to communicate via text message than Ashton and Grant. So hopefully that was enough pump up for them. I am nowhere in the stratosphere of writing business at that level. So maybe I can add some things for us lowly mid-level producers to teach you how to do some stuff. But I'm going to let the expert shine here. So let's just start off with Grant. Real quick, Grant, you didn't always text clients. You were, calling and outbounding clients, right? Like we all were. And I know that you embraced the idea of automation and sort of digital leads and, digital communications and things like that pretty early on. It wasn't as developed as it is today.
Sure.
So now you're in the full swing. Like for somebody who's not doing it, for somebody who's not sending text messages or not leaning on automation, how do they get started?
Well, Ryan, first of all, you are no slouch in this space, as you have pioneered a system of messaging to connect with people. But I guess the first thing, to take into consideration is just people's buying behaviors. Like when we think about why we would text a client versus why we would call them or why we would email them, we think about what are the buying behaviors. And, when I first started 8 years ago, what were we doing? We were getting a paper lead from somebody, like we literally printed it out, This person
Yep.
mailed it back into us. We printed it out, and then, we called them, and then we got in our cars. We went out to meet with them, and, they wanted that. People wanted us to come out and meet with them, and they wanted us to have a 45-minute to an hour and a half presentation where we went through everything and spoke with their spouse and, kind of got the buy-in that this was something they'd want to do. And then what happened? We hit COVID. Technology evolved, and now we live in this microwave society where people, number one, want stuff done as fast as possible, and they don't want to have to jump through hoops to get it. And so if you ask the majority of people, what is your preferred method of communication? The vast majority of people actually do prefer text message. They want to be able to look at stuff on their own time. They want to be able to respond back to you. People don't love being on the phone with people these days. That's just kind of these newer generations. They don't want to do phone calls. They want to tweet. You call it tweeting anymore now that it's Twitter, but Xing. We're gonna X, yeah. So when you think about, how you engage with clients in a way that isn't just making outbound phone calls, it starts with using the information that you have in the exact same way you would with a phone call. If I was going to give you a call, Ryan, I would say, hey, Ryan, this is Grant. I was getting back to you about your $135,000 mortgage with Bank of America, and what I did in that very first sentence is I just verified, I know your name, I know your address, I know that you have a mortgage. And then my next sentence is going to get into the fact that you requested information, which is another piece of validity for us. So if I'm going to text a client, I'm going to do something right along those same lines. And that's why we have some awesome automation systems that already kind of start that way. But if you're someone who is, not using text as a method of engaging clients, here's the cool thing. You don't even have to change your lead type. You don't have to get onto a digital lead that was kind of cultivated through a Facebook, TikTok, Instagram ad. You could text, the leads that Ashton's working, mortgage protection leads from 9 months to a year plus old. As long as you just have a process for engagement, that helps you filter it. So Ryan, the way you get started is you don't be afraid to do it. You add it as an extra step in your engagement, and you just craft a message that's short, sweet. It provides credibility because you use the information you have, and you'll be surprised how many people get back to you.
And the biggest thing that you have to realize is you're not going to get the same result via phone call that you're going to get via text message. So when someone starts texting leads, you have to realize, if I'm calling these exact same level, exact same age, whatever you want to call it, the exact same type of lead, whether it's a day old, 3 months old, 4 years old, if I'm calling that exact same type of lead, everything is the same. My numbers, if I just text them only and I never make a single phone call to them, they're going to be different. So if I was at a 1 in 5, every 5 people I talk to, I'm going to book an appointment. If I text them, I shouldn't expect to every 5 people I text, I'm going to book an appointment. You at least have to expect to be half as bad via text because it's only a text message. And so that's the other thing is a lot of people think whatever ratio I had calling these leads, it's going to be the same via text. And that's where a lot of people's expectations get hurt. They go to the text messages and they go, oh, I didn't book anywhere as near as well, it's because you need double the amount of leads. I put through twice as many leads in order to get the same quantity of appointments. But I'm okay with more leads in, fewer appointments out for 0 phone calls. Versus if I don't have that kind of budget, now I'm not spending a lot, but if I don't have that kind of budget, and I go every penny matters, every lead matters, well then texting might not be the best first solution.
Well, listen, I think what you guys both said to pull 2 things out of that, number one, the way that I view texting versus phone calling and all the metrics that I've seen, right, is if you are running a text campaign first to a client rather than running a phone campaign first to a client, you need twice as many leads and you're going to do twice as many contacts, but it's going to take you half as much time because you just use automation and blast text out to everybody. And again, if you're not using an automation platform, stop being dumb. Right? Get on an automation platform. They're not difficult to find. They're all over the place. It's really easy to get on one. You can mass text clients. There's messages built in. Get on an automation platform. It will help you a lot. Of all of you listening right now, imagine a room full of 100 people. And I asked, how many of you, when you get a call from a phone number that you don't know, you answer the phone? How many of them you think would raise their hand? Like me, I answer the phone when it's a call. It's a phone number that I don't know. maybe 15% maximum. And most of those people are salespeople. And they're just like, they might be calling to give me some money. I better pick it up, right? But the overwhelming majority of people just aren't going to answer their phone if it's a number that they don't know. And this is the number that's been declining and declining and declining and declining. If you're in a company and you're listening to, mentorship that just tells you need to work harder, right? Or you need to make more calls, dial for dollars, pound the phones, go knock on doors. Like, that's the opposite of what you need to do. Like, that's 1980 mentality. This is 2024. We've got technology. So what we really want to do is we want to make sure that we're texting the right number of leads. And that's the method that most people want to communicate in, right? So we're texting the right number of leads. So putting the right volume in. And what Grant said, which is keeping it short and sweet. Because this is the number one area. Like, when I look at people on my team that are coming to me and they're like, oh my God, I don't know why the process isn't working for me. The text messages, just like, I think I'm just going to go back to knocking on doors or whatever they come up with. I look at their text messages and it's like, hi, hey, from the client. And then just like a novel of a text message, just like, my name is Ryan Federico. I'm a senior field underwriter, and I'm just getting back to you about your request for insurance and blah, 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 blah. And what's your social security number and your mother's maiden name and your date of birth and your 3 forms of identification? It's just a long ass message that you're just being lazy, when it's like, you're already being lazy by texting somebody. So just like, be a little less lazy and have a back and forth conversation. That's like one piece of information at a time. Is this correct? Yes. How about this? Yes. How about that? Yes. Are you available Tuesday? Yes. See you then.
Yeah.
Done. Right. That's your sequence for setting these appointments. Right. So, Grant, you've been doing a lot of this and you've seen all the ins and outs. And I know that people are a little bit more slippery through text message and they kind of go away. So what happens when you're having conversations with people and they just kind of ghost you? They die in the middle of the conversation and you don't get a response back.
Yeah.
What's your approach with those people?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you got to look at it and realize that you're engaging with people and you have to relate to them as if it's like kind of an old friend. That's what I think is so important when you get into texting people. Because you think about like how formal these different platforms are. Like, what's like the most formal thing you can do? You can send them like a letter, like a typed written letter. That's like probably the most formal part of communication. And then it's like, okay, there's an email, right? Emails are kind of a little bit more formal generally, but these days emails are becoming not so formal anymore. And then you've kind of got the text message. Yep. So like it's down the list, other than like Snapchat or something. Like text message is like really casual, right? And so when you think about how to engage with somebody over text, like the way that you avoid getting ghosted or you handle getting ghosted is, number one, by starting with texting people the proper thing to begin with. So you've talked about short messages. I believe in a 4 text message system. So when I first have a lead that comes in, the initial text that goes out, hey, Ryan, this is Grant. I was a case manager assigned to you about those life insurance options you'd requested. Would you prefer a phone call or do you mind answering a few health questions over text? Short and sweet, simple, right? And then you're like, text me. I go, okay. I show that you're 40 years old and a non-smoker. Is that right? So I go age and tobacco use. Then they go yes or no. Hopefully yes. Then, I go, okay, do you have any health conditions? High blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. Now, whenever I ask a health question over text, I don't go multiple layers deep. I don't want to try and ask, okay, you're diabetic. Do you take insulin or do you take oral medication? How long ago were you diagnosed? Have you ever had any complications? I don't want to eat up 3 or 4 text messages within that because I'm giving them an opportunity to ghost me. Then after they say yes or no to the health stuff, I just say, how much coverage are you looking for? Even if I got a request that said, I want $250,000 of coverage on a 20-year term, I don't care. I want to ask them an open-ended question because I don't want to back myself into a corner. I want to hear kind of what they're going to say there because sometimes what they respond is different from what maybe was initially requested. And then they say, okay, I want $300,000. Perfect. Do you want to cover anyone else or just yourself? I like kind of that avoiding the one-legged appointment, right? Seeing if there maybe is another decision maker or someone else in the household we might need. And then they say no, and I go, that's all the information I need. With the best 5-minute window, call you, be in the morning, afternoon, or evening. So the initial text goes out. I go, age, and do you smoke? Any health conditions? How much coverage you looking for? Are you looking to cover anybody else? And then book the appointment. So when you're working with a client, when you're texting them, and they don't respond, let's say they ghost you after the very first text message. They don't respond at all. That's where you're going to have to lean on that phone to be able to engage with them. But keep in mind, even if you have somebody that doesn't respond to your text message, it makes the phone call a warmer phone call. So if you're sending messages out to people, even if it's just to kind of open up the door for a phone call, because then when I get on the phone with them, I can just be like, hey, Ryan, I just shot you a text a second ago. I was the case manager that was assigned to this that you had requested. That opening line, I just shot you a text a minute ago. It creates a bit of relatability. But if you're going through, and let's say they do start engaging with you over text, you send out the first text, they say yes, you say you're 62 and a non-smoker, right? And then they say nothing. So they sent you one like yes or okay or whatever. Then they just went hasta la bye-bye. What I do is I go through my 4-step method regardless of response or not. So if I sent out that second text that said, I show you're this age, and they didn't respond, I would send the follow-up text that says, do you have any health conditions like this, or this? And so I will literally have a conversation where I'm texting myself these list of questions as if they're responding. And what I find is that a lot of the time, they do end up picking up the conversation and getting back with me. So that the way that I avoid ghosting is, number one, have short, concise, quick things, get on top of people quickly. When a lead comes in, make sure that if they text you back, you immediately respond to them, and then pay attention to their behavior. So if I send a text out and 5 minutes later they text me, and then I send a text, and then 5 minutes later they text me, and then I send a text, and I hear nothing for 12 minutes, I'm going to send the follow-up text. So you got to be kind of paying attention to their behavior and then bobbing and weaving within that, because you want to communicate with people in the way they want to be communicated with.
Yeah, totally, man. Somebody pointed this out to me the other day. I didn't think about this, but if any of you guys use iPhones, and sorry, Android users out there, we all know they're better phones. We get it, sure. But if you text somebody, this is Ryan Federico, when you call them, guess what your name shows up as? Maybe Ryan Federico, right? You've all seen that if you're iPhone users, right? And so texting them your name, and then when you call them, it doesn't say spam likely, or it doesn't say, Wisconsin, or like whatever phone number you're using to call them. It says maybe Ryan Federico, and you get a better response rate if you start with texting. Just continuing to send messages to them and continuing to engage. I personally love to send memes. I'm a big fan of memes. So I've got, my favorite one is a skeleton sitting on a park bench that says, this is me waiting for you to text me back. It's my favorite one. So I love to throw those out there. Just little funny ones. I got a SpongeBob one. It's just, just little funny ones that I throw out to people. Every now and then I get somebody who says I'm unprofessional, but for the most part, people find it funny and they respond back. So I love just doing what I would normally do to a friend of mine. Right? Just, sending a text message that's lighthearted in nature, that isn't so serious, because it doesn't feel like a sales text that they're responding to. If you send them something that feels like a sales text, if you say things like quotes or prices, or we can submit an application, or something like that, they're probably going to disengage because people don't like to be sold. So I just want to be friendly and engaging. I really want to hear Ashton's take on this, though, because Ashton, you're taking a little bit of a different angle in two different ways, because you're calling or you're texting older leads, doing the same thing as Grant. I'm going to set my appointment by text. And the first time that I ever get on the phone with them is going to be when I'm there to sell them insurance. And you're texting them a picture of their request, first off. And secondarily, you're following up, right? It's like, hey, I'm the follow-up person, and it's very questioning in nature. Did you ever get this taken care of? And so I'd just love to hear your approach for older leads, because I think that's what I hear from a lot of people that are working older aged leads and text messaging. It's just, how do I start this conversation up when it was like, 2 years ago that people sent this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're at this point in 8 days, we're at 20K in 8 days. And all of that, I was just looking at it, it's actually a 100% issue rate. So 8 days, 20K issue. So not just these theoretical numbers, not just in the wind.
Cue the cash register.
Be nice, but going out there and, like you said, hey, what's this thing that's going to grab that attention? The thing, I'm even more, I'd say, detached than even Grant is when it comes to that texting approach. For me, I knew a lot of resistance was generated. The more questions I asked while I'm texting, the more people I start losing. You ask the wrong health question, that client doesn't text back. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's over. You might as well just said, hey, I'd love to not help you, and text that instead at the point,
Dude, I've seen some crazy ones, Ashton. I've seen people, somebody says, oh, I have this health condition, and someone tries to be relatable over text, but it doesn't come off the right way. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you're dealing with that,
Yeah.
And then the client's like, and then they're just like, dealing with what? Like, you're insulting me because I have this particular condition, right? So you're totally right. If you get too deep into the weeds with stuff, you lose people.
Yeah. And now at this point, it's just like, now it's gone. You could have had a great appointment and now you don't. So, for me, it's very simple. Like, hey, we're getting back about this request. Copying the image, it's so huge. They're seeing what they filled out. And here's the crazy part. It even works with people. I know we're on Facebook Live, we give away some secrets. It even works with people who just called in. They didn't even fill in. It just generated some type of PDF that they can see back. Now, it generates some form of like, hey, here is this form that was filled out. And now they're responding back. Hey, is this information correct? Like what you provided? Yes. And then me, it's like, okay, great. I'm the state licensed field underwriter that's been assigned to this file. And I just verify some information on a quick call. It takes about 10 minutes. So that way we can get you the best options. Do you have time today or tomorrow? Which is better? That's it. That's my whole text appointment process. I'm a 2-text process. Grant's 4, I'm 2.
That's why you're selling half as much.
Exactly. Double the process and double the sale.
I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, that's it. It's just, hey, here's the information. Is it right? Yeah. Okay, great. When do you want to meet? Today or tomorrow? And then I book the appointment. That's it. It's that simple.
Yeah, man. And I think that for some of you guys out there that are new, that are listening to this, you might be like, well, how do I figure out what somebody qualifies for? And listen, you might need to do a 2-call close. You might need to get on that first phone call with them, warm them up, figure out why they want insurance, build enough value, get their medical information, and then book another appointment after you do some research and you talk to some insurance carriers and you underwrite. But for experienced agents that have been around for a little while, that can underwrite on the spot, that can use Virtual Mentor and use the Navigator and use the carrier cheat sheets and, the amazing underwriting guide, shout out to Michael Muscola out there for keeping that thing, up and running, because that thing is awesome. But if you can figure out while you're sitting with a client what they're going to qualify for most likely, and our tools are getting better and better at doing that, man, this is the best possible option because you don't need to get uncomfortable over text. You can just get them right on the phone, build value, use your personality that you can't, inflict over a text message, and charm them really into getting insurance. And it will charm them into breaking the ice, breaking the wall down that allows them to connect with you. So I think it's so important, man. But there's one part sending them a text message or a picture of their lead. Sending them a picture of their lead is phenomenal. Take a screenshot, just the bottom half of a call-in lead or something like that, and go, hey, did you do this? But what you talked about just a minute ago was, I'm following up on this. Did you ever get this taken care of?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the follow-up person. And that's so huge because a lot of times, people will approach older aged lead as if it was a brand new lead because that's the only script that they know. And, then they call this lead and they get blown out of the water because somebody's like, I didn't do that. What are you talking about? Because it makes it seem like they just did it. You're responding back like, hey, you might have did this a long time ago. I'm just following up to see if you ever got this taken care of. It's a huge difference. So, I mean, you are getting a lot of response from people. Like, what's the response that you're getting from these older leads when you finally do get in contact with them since they did it so long?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so all the leads I'm working, just for reference, for anyone in the industry, no matter the IMO that you're working at, the leads I'm working are 3-year-old leads. And when you take that more detached approach, it's going to be received a lot better. One thing I love that I've texted is read in the emotions of the receiver. And that's so spot on when you're texting. And even more so in that initial message. Hey, I'm getting a message from someone I have no idea who it is. Maybe it's in the same area code as me. Maybe it's not. For instance, I typically work a lot in the Diff 8. Most of the people I'm texting don't even have the same area code as me. So they're like, man, what is this random area code that's texting me? What is this? It's more likely to be received as this is spam. This is some random thing. So I have to be more aware of that. When I come across the, hey, here's the validity. Like Grant said, like, hey, when I verify some information, that gives me the, I am the expert. I'm supposed to be here. It's valid. That's the same thing with the photo. Hey, we had this information. We know it's probably a while ago, and for some reason the system just never got updated. And so we just wanted to make sure, hey, was this information still correct? So that way we can get this information to you. Now I'm getting one of a few responses. One is, yes, information's correct. That's my favorite. It's the easiest to book. Yes, okay, great. I send my little pre-saved template. Okay, great. I'm the writer. Want to meet today or tomorrow. If it's no, I had to get that, my age is different, which you'll get that a good bit, or the address change, whatever. Oh, okay, yeah. I'll make sure to go ahead and get that updated for us here on the file. And in order to get the coverage, like I said, they have me, set the time to go on the phone with you for 10 minutes. Do you want to talk today or tomorrow? Now, okay, great. I'll update it. Got to go over this health questionnaire to figure out the best options, and you want to do that today or tomorrow. Or the third is like, what in the world is this? Who is this? What is this even about? And I have my pre-saved template again, and it's very simply, hey, I'm the state field underwriter. This just came across my desk, and I'm here to help get the options you requested. Takes about 10 minutes on the phone. You want to talk today or tomorrow? That's it. And now I go right to the booking. So that way I can handle, especially if you're a seasoned agent, this is the best thing you could be doing. And if you're a Grant Leber, if you're a Ryan Federico, this is the best thing you could be doing, because I'm just getting people, everything I'm doing, it's just to the phone. Now, instead of dialing for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to get 50, 100 people to pick up the phone, now I just got all these pre-booked, and every dial is someone that's picking up the phone, because I've pre-booked this time, and I can overcome any objection on the phone because I've done it enough. I've practiced enough. I've gone through everything at this point. So now I'm just getting right to the phone, and I can solve those issues and alleviate that tension, utilize the right tonality, utilize my neuro-emotional persuasion questioning in order to help relieve that pressure and get us to where we need to be a lot easier.
Yeah, man. It's like, look, it's like having a call center working for you at all times, right? You have an automation system that's sending text messages to all your clients. Like, hey, you have 100 people in a call center that's doing nothing except calling your leads, right? And you got to respond back to them, and you get some people booked on your calendar, and every dial that you actually make out is an opportunity to sell, because you're only putting people on your calendar to dial outbound that have confirmed that basically wanting to meet and have an appointment with you. It's so huge. So for anybody who's out there that you're still just only dialing your leads, and you're just like, text message doesn't work, and it's like this, I just want to call people. Okay, cool. Like, you're talking to the 15 people out of the crowd of 100 that will pick up the phone for a number that they don't know, right? And the other 85 people, they might pick up if you pester them long enough, but they're probably not going to be happy to talk to you, because they would rather talk to you in text message. They'd rather talk to you in a chat, in a short burst message, and then meet with you on what's seeming to be their terms, right? So I wanted to sort of wrap up the idea here just with one last thought. Happy birthday, Grant Leber. Oh, Grant Leber. Hit the birthday music, Ashton. I didn't cue Ashton.
I know. You didn't give me any advance notice.
I know. I didn't give him the heads up. I know. But Grant spent the weekend partying like an animal for his birthday on the golf course. How's it feel to be old, Grant?
My ankle hurts. Is that how this goes now?
But seriously, man, happy birthday, brother. And thanks for your input on this episode. Like, you're doing something that I think a lot of people recognize, man, is massive. Like, you're throwing up so much premium right now and making it look so effortless. And Ashton blazing the trail, man, just sending these text messages to older leads and creating a process for especially newer agents, if they'll listen and follow these directions, to get with some of these older, cheaper leads. Man, it's so cool. So for all you guys out there in listener land, please like, subscribe, hit the little bell so that you know when a new episode is coming. We're going to keep fresh new content coming at you. And we'll be back at you next week with a new episode. So later, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Peace.